It's 11:52 p.m. You have a spreadsheet open on a laptop that's been running hot for 2 hours. The fan is going, the room is dark except for the screen. You are not doing anything dramatic, you are doing math. You are 29 years old. You earn $72,000 a year. You have $38,000 in a 401k you've been contributing to since your first real job. You have $14,000 in a high-yield savings account. You have no credit card debt. You have a student loan at $19,000 that you've been chipping at steadily ahead of schedule, which felt like winning until recently. By every metric you were given, you are doing it right. You type the numbers in: salary, contribution rate, assumed return, years to retirement. You use 7% because that's what the articles say to use: conservative, responsible. You set the retirement age to 65, you hit enter. The number comes back. You stare at it. $1,100,000. You thought it would feel different. You thought $1 million at the end of a spreadsheet would feel like relief. What it feels like instead is a specific kind of quiet, not peaceful quiet. The quiet of a room where someone just said something that changed everything and nobody has responded yet. You do the next calculation without meaning to. $1,100,000 at a 4% withdrawal rate is $44,000 a year. $44,000 a year in 36 years. You look up the inflation calculator, you type in $44,000, you set the years to 36, you hit calculate. In today's dollars, $44,000 in 36 years is worth $17,800. You read it again, $17,800. You are doing everything right. You have been doing everything right for 7 years. And the end of the road, if you walk it exactly as directed, is $17,800 a year in real purchasing power. That is not retirement. That is a different version of the same problem you are trying to escape. This is the moment, not a dramatic one, not cinematic. Just a man in a dark room with a hot laptop and a number that doesn't mean what he thought it meant. The first rule: the math was never designed to make you wealthy, it was designed to make you stable. There is a difference. Nobody told you there was a difference. You grew up hearing the same things everyone heard. Contribute to your 401k, build an emergency fund, avoid debt, live below your means. These are not bad instructions. They are incomplete instructions. They are the instructions you give someone when the goal is to keep them solvent, not when the goal is to make them free. You followed them carefully. You tracked your net worth to the dollar, you automated your savings, you declined the vacation you couldn't technically afford, you put the $200 back into savings after you moved it out. You did all of it. And now you are sitting in a dark room learning that doing all of it leads somewhere specific. And specific is not the same as somewhere good. You close the spreadsheet, you open it again, you change the return rate to 10%. The number jumps. $2,400,000. You feel something briefly, then you do the inflation math. In today's dollars, 36 years out. $980,000. Still a retirement, still a good outcome, still not what you thought the word wealthy meant when you used it in your head at 22, lying on a mattress in your first apartment, telling yourself that one day you would get there. You are not sure you define the word, you are not sure anyone told you to. The shift: you stop calculating what you have and start calculating what you're missing. There is a number that doesn't appear on your spreadsheet. It has a name: opportunity cost. Every dollar sitting in your savings account earning 4.3% is a dollar not compounding somewhere else. Every year you spent optimizing your budget instead of building a second income was a year the machine wasn't running. You were efficient, you were not productive. Those are not the same thing. You open a new tab, you type in, what does $14,000 become in 30 years at 10%? The calculator returns $243,000. You type in, what does $14,000 become in 30 years at 4.3%? The calculator returns $48,000. The gap between those two numbers is $195,000. That gap has a name too. It's called the cost of caution. You have been paying it every year. It never appeared on a statement. You never felt it leave. The second rule: safety is not a strategy. Safety is a position. Positions erode. You think about your father. He worked 34 years for the same company. He contributed to his pension every month. He did not question the math because the math was not presented to him as something to question. He retired at 63 with a fixed income that felt sufficient until it didn't, until the prescriptions got more expensive, until the property taxes went up, until the thing he thought was a floor turned out to have a slow leak. You are not your father, you know more than he did, you have access to information he didn't. And you are sitting in the dark at 11:52 p.m. with a spreadsheet open making the same foundational error in a different format. You trusted the structure, you did not examine whether the structure was built for you. You start a new document, not a spreadsheet, a blank page, you write one question at the top. What would the number have to be for this to actually be enough? You sit with it, you think about what enough means, not the theoretical enough, the real one, the one where you wake up and time is yours, where the decision to work is a choice and not a requirement, where the spreadsheet is something you check out of curiosity and not out of anxiety. You write a number. $4,200,000. You don't know where it came from exactly, you know it feels honest. You know it is not the number your current trajectory produces, not by a significant margin, not without something changing. The third rule, the plan you're executing was written by someone else for a version of your life you have not examined. You think about the last 7 years, the raises you took and absorbed into lifestyle, the skills you built for your employer and not for yourself, the side project you talked about starting for 2 years and didn't because the job was steady and the timing wasn't right. The timing was never going to be right, that's what timing does, it waits for permission you have to give it. You contributed 6% to your 401k because your employer matched 6%. You never asked what happens above 6%. You never asked what you were leaving behind by capping yourself at the match. You were optimizing for the incentive you were offered instead of the outcome you actually wanted. It is almost 1 a.m. now, you should be asleep. You are not close to sleep, you are something else entirely. You are in the middle of a shift that doesn't have a clean edge. It started when you typed the numbers in and it is not finished yet and you are not sure when it will be. You open a new tab, you start reading about index funds, not for the first time, you've read about them before, but before you were reading for information. Tonight you are reading for a decision. There is a difference in how the words land. You read about the S&P 500, 10.1% average annual return since 1957. Not every year, not smoothly, down years, bad years, years where people pulled out and locked in losses and watched the recovery happen without them, but over time, directionally, consistently upward. You think about your $14,000 sitting in the high-yield account, earning 4.3%, feeling safe, feeling responsible, slowly, quietly, in real terms, shrinking. You think about what 10.1% does to $14,000 over 30 years. You already calculated it. $243,000. You think about what it feels like to have made a decision you didn't know you were making. The shift, you understand for the first time that inaction is a choice. It produces results the same way action does. The results are just slower and quieter and easier to ignore. You start a third document. This one is a list, not a budget, not a savings tracker, a different kind of list. Things I have been optimizing for that are not the goal. You write avoiding debt, then you write avoiding risk, then you write approval, then you stare at that one for a while, then you write the feeling of doing it right. That last one sits in your chest a little, the feeling of doing it right. You have been working toward a feeling. The feeling and the outcome are not the same destination. You confused them for 7 years, they pointed in the same direction long enough that you never noticed when they diverged. You think about what the next 7 years look like if you don't change anything. The 401k grows, the savings account grows, the student loan disappears, the net worth number climbs at the rate it has been climbing. You hit 36 feeling stable, feeling responsible, feeling like the spreadsheet is under control. And then you run the projections again at 36. And the number at the end is still not the number you wrote on the blank page. And you are 7 years closer to 65 and 7 years further from the point where the machine was small enough to redirect. You close the laptop. The room is completely dark now, the fan has stopped, you sit in it for a moment. You are not in a crisis, your finances are fine, your life is fine, nothing is on fire, that is almost the problem. Nothing being on fire is the condition under which this particular mistake is easiest to keep making. The emergency is invisible, the cost is deferred, the bill comes later in a currency you haven't started counting yet. Time. You open the laptop again, one more calculation. If you start investing $500 a month into an index fund today at 10%, by 65 you have $1,900,000 in addition to your 401k. If you start that same investment at 36, you have $760,000. The difference between starting today and starting in 7 years is $1,140,000. That is not a rounding error, that is a life. You close the laptop for real this time. You sit in the dark. The shift has happened. You cannot locate the exact moment. It was not the first number. It was not the inflation calculation. It was somewhere between the blank page and the word approval and the realization that the plan you've been executing with discipline and consistency and genuine effort was never pointed at the thing you actually want. The plan was pointed at fine. You do not want fine. You wanted something else the whole time. You just never said it out loud. You never wrote it down. You never ran the numbers on it because running the numbers on it meant confronting the gap between where the current plan goes and where you actually need to be. The gap is real, the gap is large, the gap is not permanent. But it is only closable from here, it is only closable now. Every morning you wake up and don't begin is a morning the gap gets slightly wider and slightly quieter and slightly easier to not think about. The laptop is closed, the room is dark, the number you wrote on the blank page is still there. $4,200,000. It always starts with the number you finally admit. It always will.